I represent one of the hardest hit communities in the hardest hit city in this country, Queens, New York. 13 dead in a night in Elmhurst Hospital alone. Our community's reality is this country's future if we don't do anything. Hospital workers do not have protective equipment. We don't have the necessary ventilators, but we have to go into this vote eyes wide open. What did the Senate majority fight for? One of the largest corporate bailouts with as few strings as possible in American history. Shameful. The greed of that fight is wrong for crumbs, for our families. And the option that we have is to either let them suffer with nothing or to allow this greed and billions of dollars, which will be leveraged into trillions of dollars, to contribute to the largest income inequality gap in our future. There should be shame about what was fought for in this bill and the choices that we have to make.
This is AOC delivering a scathing rebuke to Republicans who use the unprecedented $2 trillion bailout bill to kowtow to big corporations while average Americans are getting hit the hardest. Now, to be clear, it is a good thing that this bill passed and it was the best that we had, but the fact that urgently needed relief that any country would provide to its citizens without skipping a beat, was tied to a massive corporate bailout is a testament to where the GOP's priorities lie. So yes, while this bill was necessary, that doesn't mean its passage wasn't a hostage situation. Now look, yes, this legislation accomplishes a lot of very important things. Concessions that Democrats fought hard to get included. The legislation will send $1,200 checks to millions of Americans with incomes up to $75,000 a year, phased out entirely for incomes up to $99,000 a year. It'll expand unemployment benefits to cover 100% of lost wages for up to 4 months. It gives hospitals $100 billion in grants to fight coronavirus. It'll provide distressed businesses with zero-interest loans and tax breaks and emergency aid. It helps the post office and retail stores and telemedicine and self-employed individuals and food stamp recipients, all extremely important. But what AOC was referring to is the bill's $500 billion slush fund for large corporations, with effectively no oversight as to where the money actually goes. In Section 2 of the bill are all these necessary restrictions on corporations, noting that the government loans will only be granted in the event that businesses don't buy back stocks, don't pay dividends, and enact salary limitations, all of which is great. And then the very next section, Section 3, gives the Treasury Secretary the right to unilaterally waive all of the requirements laid out under Section 2. So I'm sorry, but it's not enough to just pretend that this thing has teeth. Consider too that one of the industries the bill funds is $58 billion to U.S. airline and air cargo companies. And if you're wondering why the airlines are in such a precarious position right now, it's because they spent a combined 96% of their free cash flow over the last decade on stock buybacks. So of course they're short on cash, considering when the Trump administration exploded our deficit only a couple of years ago as a handout to corporations, they spent it buying back their own shares. And so now, when they're suddenly short on cash, it's once again up to the taxpayers to bail them out. That's not to say our airlines aren't critical, but we had the opportunity to make a statement about punishing corporate greed, and instead we rewarded it. The point is that we've seen this before. We have watched over and over and over again as hardworking Americans pay into the system, and when the economy inevitably crashes, we're the ones left propping up big businesses that only ever help themselves. Where CEOs are raking in millions of dollars a year and can barely stomach basic protections for their employees like paid sick leave. We saw big business get coddled during the financial crash with no consequences, and like clockwork, it's happening again now, where Republicans rush over to help corporations without for a second considering protections for entities that help regular people first, like community-based nursing homes, community mental health providers, home health, group homes for individuals with disabilities. The GOP's priority here is, and always has been, putting businesses already flush with cash over the needs of regular American people. So look, while we needed this bill to pass, it's not unpatriotic to criticize the fact that the Republican Party ensured that it prioritized corporations over people.